I became a police officer. Yay! Hey, yeah, after getting in Arizona, I became a police officer. I was in, of course, the martial arts and all that, if you were following my story. So I became that guy that became a protector, something that I didn't always have. So when I put on the badge, uh, it was something different for me. It wasn't just a job. It wasn't just something I did for a living. I was going to be able to do for others what I didn't always have for myself, and that was somebody to kind of look out for me, protect me. And most people get into police work for the typical reasons, that make sense on paper. Stability, security, family tradition, sense of duty, sense of community, things like that. And those are great reasons, and I got into it for all those reasons as well. So I wouldn't say that I didn't, but for me, because of my background, my story, and everything else, it was more than that. I knew what it felt like to not have anybody always looking out for you, on a consistent basis. And I decided that, if I could do it for somebody else, I was going to. Well, law enforcement allowed me that opportunity. I was able to go out there and be that protector of sorts, right? And so I did. I did. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about that, becoming a police officer, putting on the badge for the first time, that sort of thing. And that's what this video is about, going from living in the car in Alaska in the mid-1980s, getting attacked at a payphone by a guy with a knife, all that stuff, living in an apartment when I was 17, still in high school there in Wasilla, Alaska in the mid-80s. So, it affected me. I became a police officer. It was great, fine, wonderful. And I went on training and I did all my stuff. And all you're really focused on initially is just learning your job, learning your training, all that sort of thing. You're with your FTO or field training officer. They're training you, they're showing you the ropes, they're critiquing you, they're watching, they're observing, they're making notes, making sure to correct you when you make mistakes, that sort of thing. Their job is to basically train you to get on your own and go out on your own and be able to handle or shag calls, as we used to say, to take calls or shag calls. Every department has their own little lingo or lexicon for terms. But yeah, so that was the idea of that. So I got into law enforcement. I put the badge on, and the weight of that really impacted me, because I was, again, it was a flipping of the script. Once again, if you've been following my story here along the way, from the time in Alaska at 16 years of age, living in the car alone, it was a flipping of the script. I was now the protector. I was now the one that was going to be helping people, protecting people, when I didn't always have those things. So I was really blessed and fortunate to have that opportunity. I'm very thankful that I did. And there was one particular thing that I did while I was in police work that I was more, I don't want to say proud, because I don't really like to use the word proud. I was grateful for the opportunity. That was something that came along a little bit later. But that'll be something that I'll talk about a little bit later. But the big thing that hit me as I got out there doing my job was just the carnage, all the ugliness that you see in terms of how people treat other people. That affected me. It had an impact on me. I mean, I was around a lot of abuse and alcoholism, domestic violence. I was as a kid, I guess I don't want to say victim. I guess you could say, a victim of all those things. And a few other things too along the way. That's pre-16 years of age, other videos for another time. But when I went out to these calls, I'd see the carnage, I'd see the violence, the blood, the guts, the tears, the crying, whether it was an adult or a 2-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 16-year-old. And it affected me, no doubt about it. Over a period of time, it started to bother me. And I had a hard time with that, stomaching that, because it pulled at my heartstrings. I wasn't sure what to do with it really at that time. And so over a period of time, I thought, gosh, this is something that's really starting to affect me here. What can I do about it? What can I do about it? I wasn't sure what I could do about it. All I knew at that time was that it bothered me. It had an effect on me. And here's the thing with all of this is that when I saw this, when I saw these kids, and so many of them were in situations that were bouncing from home to home, just like I was. So I related to that. I connected. It resonated with me. I saw kids that were, the victims of drug abuse and alcoholism and domestic violence and child abuse and just lots of other things that, things that I was resonating with because I had experienced a lot of that as a young child myself. So it connected to me. And I wanted to do something about it. Like I said, it so bothered me. What could I do? What could I do? There were a lot of kids that also were, involved with, they were kind of wannabes. There were kids that were in gangs. There were kids that, kids just typically there in the community that I worked in, they didn't have a lot to do. They didn't have a lot to do. There was a lot of idle time. A lot of the kids, like I said, were bouncing from grandma's house to their aunt's house, back to maybe a single mom or a single dad, or sometimes it was both parents together still, but there was some other issue like domestic violence, drugs, alcoholism, whatever it might be. Pick your poison there, because there was always some kind of an issue there with one or multiple things. And so you deal with that, those things on a daily basis if you're a police officer, especially if you're working in the big city or just in the area that I was working in. Yeah. So, yeah, going out and watching the kids and seeing all this stuff, I saw myself. It was like looking in the mirror, just like I'm looking at myself right now here in the video, recording this. It was like looking in the mirror. I'm like, these kids are me. I get it. I understand it. If anybody understood it, I understood it. I understood it. They didn't know that. That's the thing. They saw me. I was the police officer. I was there to rescue. I was there to protect. I was there to get the bad guys, right? I was there to do my job and serve and protect. That's what you do when you're a police officer. Your job is to serve and protect. And so that's what I tried to do to the best of my ability in a righteous way. I always tried to do it that way and use the silver tongue. Anytime I had a chance to try to diffuse a situation, that's what you do. They call it verbal judo, I think in law enforcement. So you try to use the silver tongue, and that's something that I always tried to use. Anytime I had a chance to de-escalate a situation, I did that, and that's our job. Not to escalate the situation, but to de-escalate it if you can. So I tried to do that, but all the while, these people don't know that I can connect to them. I understand a lot of the stuff that especially the kids were going through. And so the kids, it's hard because adults are one thing, right? Adults are one thing, but when kids are involved, everything changes, especially small children. And then I saw the teenagers that, again, were like my age when I was living in my car, going through a lot of the same kind of things that I was going through. And some of the kids weren't even in school. Some of these kids, I was fortunate at least in school. And a lot of when I was living in the car and going to school, nobody knew that. Very few people did. I would say school officials certainly didn't know. But at the end of the day, I connected with the kids. I connected with them. I understood them. I got it. So, but that still didn't solve the issue of, well, these kids, they have nothing to do. There's a lot of idle time. There's kids that need something positive to do. They need something that they can, take pride in and feel good about themselves, feel like they're getting somewhere, feel like, most importantly, feel like somebody's there to protect them and help them and guide them and be a mentor for them as they are growing up. They needed something like that. It was very obvious that they needed something like that in the area that I worked in. And so, yeah, I needed to do something about that. Now, a few years into, so I was moving along in my career here, and a few years into the career, something happened. And I've never talked about it. You talk about things with family that you don't talk about in public, but my dad was dying about this time of cancer. And so I hopped in a car along with my older brother, and we drove through the night to Minnesota and to be with him. And so that is the next video. That is the video for next week. So definitely come back, subscribe, like, so that you get, subscribe mainly so you get notified of the next video. And if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, check them out. I'll put the playlist right up here for you so that you can click on that and watch the whole series up to this point. I am so thankful and grateful to you for watching, those who do, whoever it is, and I hope you get something out of it. I really, really appreciate all of you, however many there are tuning in. I'm just very thankful to you. I'm blessed, and we'll see you next week.